Hi students and welcome to all of you in the class of disaster management. Myself Tanmoy Dotto, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry, JS College of Engineering, Kolani. And in previous class we already discussed about the ecosystem, we already discussed about the population growth, and today we will discuss about the disaster management. And disaster management is already included in the first module of environmental science syllabus. Environmental science has the code either MC401 for even semester or MC301 for odd semester. Now, first of all, you have to understand that what is the disaster, or how we can define the disaster. Okay, so a disaster can be defined as a man-made, either it will be man-made or natural. Okay, so there are some kinds of natural calamities also, as you know. Okay, like starting from floods, earthquake, like cyclone, like landslides, that all are included in the natural types of disaster. But there are also some kinds of man-made disaster also there, like food poisoning, like due to some kinds of deforestation by the human being. Okay, so there are some kinds of disaster also possible with the human being, but here we will discuss according to your syllabus majorly the disaster which happened by the naturally. Okay, so in natural, if you think about the natural disaster, then these are the main big from where you can expect the big damage, that the flood, there the earthquake, there the cyclone, and the landslides. Okay, so a disaster is a consequence of the inappropriately managed risk. Okay, so this is the very important term which you have to keep in mind. The disaster means it is the consequence of inappropriately managed so the risk is the product of hazards and the vulnerability. So disaster equal to, just look here, so a disaster equal to, it is the risk minus capacity. Okay, so or in the other way we can tell that a disaster equals to hazard into vulnerability minus capacity, because as you know that a risk equal to product of the hazard and the vulnerability. So obviously in place of risk we can put hazard into vulnerability. Okay, so a hazard is a situation which poses a level of threat to life. Okay, so hazard means generally there are different kinds of hazard, but generally we can define hazard means which poses a level of threat to human life. Okay, or the health or the property, or dangerous condition or event that may affect the society of an environment. Okay, so vulnerability is extent to which damage will likely to happen by the impact of a particular hazard. Okay, and capacity means, all of you know very well, capacity means is the resource and strength which exist the household and communities, enable them to cope with or withstand or prepare for, prevent or quickly recover from the disaster. Okay, so this is the a theoretical thing which you have to know very well. Then the main important area is that if you consider the disaster, then we can classify the disaster in the mainly or majorly two ways. So first one is the, look here, disaster can be classified. First one is the natural disaster. Okay, natural disaster means which is caused by purely nature. Okay, and another is the man-made disaster. Okay, so if we consider the natural disaster, look here, in case of natural disaster, the main or major example of the natural disaster is that earthquake. In case of earthquake, there different kinds of damage occur. Okay, a few days ago, in the earthquake in the Nepal. Okay, so that damaged very badly. In case of cyclone also, this is also the major earthquake, and tsunami is actually also one type of earthquake. And cyclone, all of you faced few days ago, few months ago, that there was a cyclone in the area of the mainly West Bengal and Bangladesh. So there you can also lots of damages occur in that time. So flood is also common problem of India. In a rainy season or rainy days, there is some parts of the India where there regularly means in each and every rainy season there is expected that there will be a flood. Okay. And in case of minor, there are thunderstorm. Okay. Generally nowadays thunderstorm become also very dangerous. Okay, because that also caused the death of the human being. Okay. And cold or heat waves also, this is also minor types of disaster. In case of major type of the disaster for man-made, which is directly where the human beings are involved or included for the disaster, there you can find out the major disaster will be the deforestation, which I told you that deforestation also it is one kind of disaster. Okay. And war also, so this is also purely man-made. Okay. War, so this is another kind of major disaster. Minor food poisoning. Okay, this is also created by man-made accidents, and also some kinds of environmental pollution. These all are the disaster. So here we mainly discussed about in details about the some few of the natural disaster. Okay. So first of all, that flood, what I told you, that flood is the most common problem in India. Okay. So there are some areas where regularly each and every area there we see that in the problem regarding the flood. Okay. So what is the flood actually? Flood is the overflowing of water onto land that is normally dry. That means which area in general time, which area become dry. If there for some reason or in rainy season water come, then we call this is the flood. Okay. As a result of land is filled with the excess of water. Okay. This is generally called the flood. Now, what are the causes of the flood? So flood are caused by the rains. It is the most common reason. That's why I told you that generally in India in rainy season. Okay, so there are some problems arised from different parts of the India. Problems from the rainy season, or the problem from the flood. So high winds, okay, cyclones also responsible. Tsunami, very very important. This is also responsible. Melting snow or dam burst. So these are all are responsible for the flood. So flood can happen gradually, or it can happen suddenly due to heavy rains. Okay, so what I told you that it is expected in the rainy season, but if suddenly there heavy raining occur for few days or few hours, then it can cause different kinds of problems. Okay, in different area, like in case of Sundarban, there that flood is the if there is even cyclone or if any kind of natural problem regarding the high wind, high cyclones or like that. So there is a regular problem was there, the flood. Okay, so if there is a for that situation, there dam burst. Okay, this is also another problem, because if there is dam means it's a reservoir for water. So there the huge amount of water remains there. So if for any reason, if any problem there, that water flows on the dry land. So that causes the flood. Okay. So different kinds of magnitude of the flood also possible, that either or what is the area that is flooded, or that depends on the amount of water also. So different factors are also responsible for the magnitude of the flood. Okay. So if you the main steps by which flood management. So what is the flood management? So how we can management means how we can control or how we can save the people from the flood. Okay, so there are some few main steps are there. So first is the flood forecasting. So this is also possible actually, and nowadays this happened because if there is any chance of flood, so from the government there is an there isn't way by which by miking or by different kinds of announcement they actually knock the people of that particular area, that there is a chance of the flood. Okay, so reduction of the runoff, this may be another management process. Reducing the flood peak by volume reduction, that means that we have to concentrate more for the construction of dams and the detention basins also. Reducing the flood level, this is also important. Protection against the inundation, okay, that means the construction of embankments, this is also another point by which we can control the flood. And preparation of flood disaster management map, this is also important. Okay, flood disaster management map means we have to understand that if there is a regular chance of flood in each and every rainy season, then we have to identify that area. Okay, so that parts are in that parts are flood prone area. Okay, so that means we have to take a special care, we have to identify why that areas are regularly their flood cost. Okay, that the different kinds of problem cost from the flood, or each and every rainy season why they are flooding. Okay, we have to find out the reason. So that's why that flood disaster management map, that is very very important to form. Okay, next point is that guideline for the preparing flood disaster management map, what I told you, we have to investigate that is there any kind of historical record of flood. Okay, so if there is any historical record of the flood, then we have to concentrate specially. Then we have to display the inundation process prediction area, or we have to form some kinds of embankment in the river side. Okay, so that all the steps we have to taken care. So and also the people who reside at that place, then that people should be aware of the flood, or that should mean there should be some basic knowledge of the flood. Okay, so by that way we can or these are the guidelines for the flood disaster management, to form the flood disaster management map. Okay, so now come to the point that what information should be in the flood disaster management map. That means what information we have to incorporate in this map. So first of all, there should be, the most important point is that the telephone numbers of the authorities related to the disaster management, like police, like hospital, like fire department, that all the records of the telephone numbers that should reflect in the flood disaster management map. Okay, so disaster prevention center should be there, like each and every center there are some disaster prevention center exist. So where that places exist, that information should be clear in the disaster management map. Okay, so land use, that information should be there, power, gas and water supply facilities, how is it possible, then we have to indicate that things also, elementary schools also, and any other things which is necessary according to the area, that things can be incorporated in the map also. Okay, now the flood disaster management map must be prepared in the workshop together with local resident schools and scientific representatives. That is very much important. That should be combination of the work for the obviously there should be some local resident schools are there, and the scientific representative should be there to reflect the local information. That is very very important to promote the understanding of inundation areas and evacuation sites also, to facilitate the well prepared persons for flood rescue teams, to establish the importance of the map within the community from childhood, to provide a enhanced to provide a chance for the family members to talk about the disaster prevention and the migration also. That means if there is any kind of disaster, then how it is possible to migrate from that area. This is also important. Okay, because if there is any problem, then we have to think about at first our lives. So if there is any such kind of place exist, or where we can take we can take rest safely from the flood, then we have to migrate there, and to promote more precise flood disaster management map in the flood prone villages. This is also very much important here. Okay, so now these points are very much important now for the flood also. Now come to the point of earthquake. Okay, so how we can define the earthquake. Earthquake is also a very dangerous very dangerous disaster in this way, natural disaster in this way, that earthquake, like a flood and all other kinds of disasters, there may be some times by which we can predict some word, but or there's some times by which we can take some helps, or we can migrate from one place to another place, like this. But in case of earthquake, it is a very much small time, and within that time duration it damage badly. Okay, it takes the so many human lives okay, at a time. So that's why this is the problem of the earthquake. Okay, so how we can define the earthquake? Earthquake can be defined, earthquake refers to the vibration of the earth's surface. This is the general definition of the earthquake. This is the vibration of the earth surface. Okay, so now there is a continuous activity going on below the surface of the earth. All of you know very well, there is a continuous, there is something which is going on in the below of the earth surface. Okay, so then look here, so there are several large plates which exist which below the surface of the earth, which move. Actually, you know that the plates are actually moving. Okay, but this movement is very slow, a very slow speed. That's why it is not possible that we can understand that the plates are moving, but actually the plates are moving. Okay, so as a part of this movement, sometimes they collide against each other. Okay, and after collision they might still continue to push each other. If during this movement, if there is any kind of collision occur, then what happen after collision? They continue to push each other. Okay, as they continuously keep pushing each other, then what happen? There is a pressure building up. Okay, there is a pressure building up across the plates below and the surface. Then what happen? At a certain time, one of the plates might slide over another. This is the main cause of the earthquake. Okay, so one plate might slide over another, and this causes the earthquake. Now there are some kinds of earthquake also there which is caused by the activity above the surface. Okay, for example, that mountainous region, there might be a heavy landslide. If there is any kind of heavy landslide in the mountainous region, then what happened? Due to huge mass of land falling, at the point of the fall there could be a minor shaking of the earth. This is the earthquake which is caused by the activity on the surface. Okay, above the surface. Okay, so due to the impact of fall, however, usually such earthquakes are happen, but this is not a very much strong or very much effective to damage the earth surface. But this is a minor earthquake. But the intensity of the earthquake that is related to the when it come from the undersurface or from the rocks of the underground earth. Okay, so this is measured by there is an instrument also. Look the instrument. This is called the seismograph, by which we can measure the intensity of the earthquake. Okay, so also, you know, I think there is an in the news, when after earthquake there is that it is the 6.5, it is the 7, etc. You can understand that what is the intensity of the earthquake, and this intensity actually measured by the seismograph. Okay, so this by the seismograph, that this instrument we can actually measure the earthquake. So now this is the actually waves by which we can understand what is the intensity of the earthquake. This type of waves are coming, and by which we understand. Okay, so now another very strong and it is also one type of earthquake also. This is called actually tsunami, but this occurred this occurs and caused by earthquake traveling in the sea water. This is the important, because you think that, just think that if the earthquake happened in the in a place of the in the dry place, then what happened? There is some problem regarding the what is situated on the surface. But if it happened in the underground of the sea, then what happened? There is a huge amount of water is coming from the sea to the land area. Okay, that means it produced or it damaged badly in other way. Okay, so this is called actually tsunami. So tsunami is also one kind of earthquake, but it occurs in the sea water. Okay, or in the high sea levels. Okay, so this is the tsunami actually, and it is one kind of earthquake. Now, how we can control the earthquake? Now it is the question also, that is it possible to control the earthquake? So at present, earthquake prediction is insufficiently precise to provide the public with sufficient advance warning. For this reason, adequate at present it is not 100% accurately we can predict the earthquake. So insufficiently precise to provide the public with sufficient advance warning. For this reason, adequate preparedness and the assistance is extremely important in areas which are affected by earthquake. That means generally we can give one information. Okay, so this area are there are earthquake prone area, or maybe it is the affected area of earthquake. So by this way we can give the warning, but exactly the prediction means how we can predict the like a storm, like cyclone. Okay, in this way we can't predict the earthquake accurately. Okay, so what technical measures we can do? Earthquake proof planning and design the building. So nowadays, you know, there are some kinds of buildings, and you can, I think all of you see there are different kinds of advertisement also for the TMT word, different kinds of TMT word, that it is the earthquake proof. So that's why the different kinds of technical process are developed by which we can make the make our house more stronger than the previously made. Okay, so that local geological substratum provides indicators of areas in which the tremors will have a particularly strong. So this is the general technical measurement by which we can we know actually that if we follow that, we can take the safety somewhat. Okay, personal measurement. Okay, so seek shelter under stable tables. Okay, this is the very much important, which you have to know, that if there is earthquake, then what you can do at this moment, at that moment. Okay, so first of all, the seek shelter under the table, and the stable tables. Okay, this is the very important, that stable tables are under the door frames. Okay, this is very important. If outside, stay away from the building, because you know that earthquake means there is a chance of dropping the building. Okay, so that means there is a chance of collapse the buildings. Okay, so that's why you have to, it should be stay away from the building, bridge, electricity. Okay, electricity or any kind of electricity poles are there, and move, just go to the move and open, just go to the open area. If it is filled, any vacant field, this will be very much helpful. Okay, so avoid the areas at a risk from the secondary process, such as the where there is any chance of the landslides, rockfall, and soil liquefaction. Okay, so there is a chance of there is another secondary effect of the earthquake, that if there is any chance of this kind of things, just stay away from this area, or avoid this area actually. After the earthquake, just check gas, water and electricity pipes and lines for damage. Okay, this is very much important, that after earthquake there we have to check properly either the gas line or electricity pipes, or like that is there any kind of damage or not. if there is any damage, then it can damage other things also. So we have to take care properly after the earthquake. And important thing is that listen to radio, or nowadays it will be obviously internet or news or whatever, TV, and follow the instruction issued by the authorities. Okay, so these are the main things which you have to follow at the time of the earthquake. Okay, now come to the next topic, that next disaster, that is the landslide. So what is the landslide, or how we can define the landslide? So landslide, generally we can define the landslide in this way. So landslide and rock falls are the mass movement. Okay, this is the important definition of the landslide. So it is a one type of mass movement at the process. Okay, so what is the landslide? Landslide means, generally landslide means it is the one type of rock fall or landslide, same things, it is one kind of mass movement. Okay, so mass movement means what is the mass movement? Mass movement are the processes in which solid materials like a stone or loose rock is swayed in the downward motion by the gravity and without the assistance of a transport medium. Okay, so like water, like wind, without the water or wind or snow, there's such kind of stones or loose rocks, etc., that swayed in the downward motion by the gravity. So mass movement can occur suddenly. Okay, so this is the important point. So it can occur or rock fall, it is also called the rock fall. It can occur suddenly, or a slow and continuous process. That means it can generally or slowly it can continue. Okay, so this is called the landslide process. And but the problem is that if it is slow process, it can continue for a long time. Okay, so now what technical planning we can establish for the to protect the landslide process, that drainage system should be very much developed, and or grading the slope profiles increase the shear resistance. Okay, this is the very much important. Supporting structure is very much important. If there is any kind of supporting structures, then it can resist the landslide process somewhat. Okay, so the use of slopes. Okay, the use of slopes prone to the landslide must be avoided. That means if there is any kinds of slopes are there, then it will be very much prone to landslide process. So we should avoid that kind of slopes. Okay, and that we have to modify that suitably if it is landslide prone. Okay, and then electrical, some kinds of by electrical connections must be some kinds of flexible nature, because if there is any landslide, then we have to change the direction of the some kinds of electrical connection. What will the personnel measurement? That reinforcement of the floor slabs and external walls in existing buildings. That is the major important point which we can keep. We can take the personally. Installation of drainage pipes for rainwater slope drainage. Actually, if there is any problem, like if water is continuously flowing in a particular way, it gradually weaken that surface. Okay, so if we properly install the drainage pipe, okay, drainage pipe or for the rainwater or the slope drainage, then we can somewhat resist the landslide process. Okay, or the planting of the slopes, planting of slopes that are vulnerable to landslides with deep rooted trees and the shrubs. That is also important. Okay, so we have to plant the trees to protect the landslides also. That this can be effective way by which we can resist the, or we can somewhat solve the problem of the landslide. Okay, now cyclone, cyclone is very much dangerous disaster on the other hand. Okay, so, and nowadays it very much frequently we are observing the cyclone, or we are facing the cyclones. Okay, so what is the cyclone? Cyclones mainly caused by the atmospheric disturbance around a low pressure area designed by the swift and often destructive air circulation. Okay, if it is a destructive air circulation, then the cyclone can be formed. And cyclones are usually accompanied by the violent storms actually and bad weather. Okay, so this is the main two phenomena, that there will be huge storms are there which damage the wealth and the human lives also badly. And weather demand bad, very bad, like it may be some rainy season, maybe some thunderstorms also for few days. Okay, the air circulates inward in the anti-clockwise direction in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere. I think from the knowledge of geography, all of you know very well. Cyclones are classified in the extratropical cyclones, also called temperate cyclones, and tropical cyclones. There are two types of cyclones are there. One is the extratropical, another is the tropical cyclone. The word cyclone is derived from the Greek word cyclones, that means coils. Okay, so that's why cyclones looks like, okay, coil or snake. So from that, from this Greek word, the cyclone came, and it was coined by another scientist. Okay, the name of the city Henry, scientist, because the tropical storms in the Bay of Bengal, these are most important, the tropical storm from the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea appear like coiled serpents of the sea. So that's why the name came as the cyclone. Classification, there is already I told you that the extra tropical cyclone and the tropical cyclones are there. Okay, so now controller protection. So there are some kinds of radars are there, you know, in India nowadays. The 10 cyclone radars already exist or present. Okay, and with these 10 cyclone detection radars, actually from with respect to the previous days, nowadays we get the result more accurately. Okay, so that is the, and the result is more accurately, and that's why not only the result, only the time, the which time, which day the cyclone will come, so that all the results that accurately we get from the radars. Okay, and there is a geo satellite also monitors the cyclone movements. Okay, so a spatial disaster warning system also provides a cyclone alert 48 hours in advance, and a cyclone warning. Such early warning help controlling the damage of the cyclone. Systematical design of the buildings also important. Okay, so systematical also you have to construct it as a systematical way by which you can protect the cyclone. We can that the effect will be less amount in the cyclone. So symmetrical design also important. So no, there should not be any empty pocket. Okay, so heap or pyramidal roofs there should not be. Okay, so if there is any the heap or pyramidal roofs, then there should not be any empty pockets, heap or pyramidal roofs. No loose of ACC sheets. Okay, or tin sheets. This kind of tin sheets or ACC sheets are mainly affected, maximum cases mainly majorly affected by the cyclones. Okay, so these are the strong rooted trees with middle like leaves can be planted. Okay, because this is very much important. If the trees have very strong rooted and its leaves like needle like, so the direction of facing the wind along the coastline. Okay, so that means so what are the immediate stocks of the cyclone that make sufficient stock for the food grains, kerosene, lanterns, or nowadays if it is necessary that mobile phone should be charged fully, there should be dry foods. Okay, and a large number of people are likely to become the homeless. This is the main problem. There should be any houses where they can get the go to the for in this situation. The medical and veterinary department should be fully equipped with the required drugs. This is also important. All the government vehicles should be kept in roadworthy condition. for putting them in use in the emergency. The power failure, so it is, if it is a regular case power failure, so if it is any emergency basis, there should be any source of the energy should be available during this scenario. And then communication facilities should be there, should be as soon as possible it should be recovered. Okay, so generally that all the things are disrupted during the cyclone time. Okay, so these all are the your syllabus of the disaster management. So what you have to do, you have to make a note properly that for each and every point, starting from your flood to earthquake to cyclone to landslide, each and every point you have to read properly. There may be some questions from there that suppose what by which instrument we can measure the earthquake, like this. Okay, or what are the immediate steps should be taken after the heat of the cyclone. So prepare all these points, I think, and this is very much easy, and you can write down from your general knowledge or from the daily life experience, or this knowledge is also very much important not only for exam purpose, this is for also important for your daily life purpose also. So just read carefully, and we'll meet again in the next class. So goodbye, take care, thank you.